But as he said, my name is Les Bernal. I'm the National Director for Stop Predatory Gambling. We're a national nonprofit organization. We're in all 50 states in this country. And our mission is not to do about what you do privately with gambling. It has to do with the role of government partnering with these powerful gambling corporations to really ultimately, we describe as exploit and defraud citizens and communities across our country, especially lower income citizens. And on a local note, I'm actually from Lawrence. So I actually live in Lawrence, so I'm based out of there when I'm not on the road. And so this has really, for me, become a kind of a calling in my life. And so I just kind of take a quick minute to describe how I got hooked on this issue. My background, I used to run political campaigns, at all levels, federal, state, and local level. And that was my passion, was like a sporting event for me, because in the winter time when I wasn't doing campaigns, I used to work as a high school and college men's basketball coach. So campaigns and sports are very much alike. And so that was my passion. As a much younger person, but for a short period of time in the early 2000s, I worked as a chief of staff in the Massachusetts Senate for a state senator who was opposed to casinos coming into Massachusetts. It was an issue I'd never thought about in my life. I'd grown up, in the state of Massachusetts where the lottery had been around since I was a baby. I never even thought of it. And the question was like a paint on the wall. But it was one of those issues where, when I got into the issues of casinos, the more I learned about it, it's like, I can't believe people really do this as an extension of a government program. It's like if the public understood like how this industry works, how they make their money, like people wouldn't tolerate this. And so there's just not enough education about what's happening on this. So, and I was a political person, and the woman I worked for was really a policy person. So it was a great professional relationship. But I realized at its core, like there's no grassroots movement for casinos in local communities or online gambling that you're seeing now in your homes, or even I think New Hampshire, the highest price right now is like a $30 scratch-off ticket. Like, there's no grassroots movement for any of that. People aren't demanding that. This is being driven by very powerful gambling corporations in partnership with a handful of public officials of both political parties who lust for more power. And so, to me, we describe this issue as America's most neglected major problem. And I'm going to touch on why, in a few minutes I have with you, I'm going to touch on why it's America's most neglected major problem. And hopefully, and the idea isn't to eliminate gambling, but people do privately, something totally different. What I'm asking you to do, and really ultimately over time asking the Salem Exchange Club to do, if it sees fit, is start to rethink the role of gambling, commercialized gambling in our society. So the first thing I want to touch on is what we define as predatory gambling, okay? And so by doing so, I'm going to first say what it's not, all right? So we start with this concept of social gambling. So social gambling is, Catholic Church bingo, the kinds of games that Salem, New Hampshire, New Hampshire used to have for charitable gambling, like bingo, poker, Friday night poker games, your Super Bowl office pool, March Madness brackets. You go golfing, you have a friendly wager on the golf course. Those are social forms of gambling. Okay, there's no house involved. Commercialized gambling is when you run gambling as a business, okay, when you do it for profit. And it's illegal, okay, commercialized gambling is illegal not just because it's addictive, okay, it is addictive, all right, it's actually recognized by the American Psychiatric Association as addictive as opioids, cocaine, and heroin, okay, commercialized gambling. That's the kind of product we're talking about here. It's normalized, so we don't see it that way. But so yes, commercialized gambling is addictive, but that's not why it's illegal. It's illegal because it's classified in the form of financial fraud, like price gouging and false advertising. All right, and so what's unique about being in Salem is, Salem has a history of horse racing, right? So people say, listen, why don't you stand up against horse racing? Well, for those of you, who've been around for a while, horse racing is a different kind of gambling. It's pari-mutuel betting. So if I put $100 down on horse number one, the odds change. I'm not betting against the house. I'm betting against essentially other people. And so, yes, horse racing over time, there's certainly people in America who are addicted to horse racing, but it's a totally different element. It's like comparing a St. Joseph's child aspirin with, a fentanyl. The kind of gambling we have in the marketplace today is highly addictive, and you're going up against the house. So if you ask me, if we had if we just had horse racing in America today, that'd be on a totally different career track. And So I just want to make a quick click, because Salem has unique history on that. So there's a total difference between pari-mutuel betting and betting against the house. Whereas you're betting against the house, you're absolutely designed to lose. And so when you run gambling as a business, what makes it different, most of you are all in the business world, what makes it different than the business that you're in is that there's an adversarial relationship between the gambling operator and its customer, okay? They're trying to take you down. So like if you're a stockbroker, like people say, well, stocks, Wall Street, I buy stocks, that's a form of gambling. Now, if you're a day trader, you're trading in derivatives, yeah, that's a form of gambling. But if you're buying an S&P 500 index fund, or you buy an Apple stock and you hold it for a while, like, you're an investor. You own a piece of a company. Commercialized gambling, it's the antithesis of that. It's about speculation. Okay, so there's a difference between investing and speculation. I think everyone in this room understands that. But the big thing here, what differentiates this business is commercialized gambling. It's a financial exchange. They wrap it up as like, as if it's like going to the movies or going out to dinner or something like that. They market it as entertainment, and it can be. You go to Vegas, have a Vegas in America. But what we've done is put Vegas on Main Street in our country. Now it's going to get your local mall. In many states, including here in New Hampshire, you have Vegas on your smartphone. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So commercialized gambling is a financial exchange that's mathematically stacked against you, so that the longer you participate in it, the more frequently you participate in it, you're guaranteed to lose all your money. It's a con, okay? It's a con that is stacked against you. That's why it's in the family of false advertising and price gouging. So I just want to make sure, so none of you are in that kind of business. I mean, so when they market this stuff, state lotteries exempt from truth in advertising regulations. None of you are exempt from truth in advertising regulations in your business. Every single one of you has to follow, has a legal duty of care to your customers, okay? Gambling operators do not have a legal duty of care to their customers. It's the only business that doesn't, because they partner with the state, okay? No state attorney general has ever brought consumer protection litigation against a commercialized gambling operator, okay? Because it's a so-called regulatory issue. So it's open season on the American public. Now think about we just come off the holiday season. Think about what state governments across our country market relentlessly. What's the perfect holiday gift for your coworkers? The perfect stocking stuffer. It's scratch-off tickets. Think of the symbolism of the change in American society. A scratch-off ticket, it's a gimmick. You're going to lose your money over time. Whereas 30 or 40 years ago, we were encouraging people to build wealth. And so much of our political debate in our country, and this is why our movement, we pull from the political right and the political left. That's what makes it so unique in our country. Is we live in a country today where so much of our debates are how do we expand the middle class. We should be taxing billionaires, raise the minimum wage, all these other things to try to provide opportunity for people. And we're always fixated on how much people make. But those of you in business, you know this. It's not just how much you make, it's how much you keep. Right? So here you have a government program, okay, in the form of local casinos and state lotteries and now online gambling that literally targets low-income folks across our country. Living in Lawrence, we have check cashing stores who sell $50 scratch-off tickets. That's a government program. Here in New Hampshire, you got we come out under the disguise of charitable gambling. You have big-time casino gambling here now in the state. As an extension of a government program. And those of you, some will say, Les, let people do what they want. Let people gamble what they want to. Absolutely. If people want to gamble privately, allow small and licensed gambling games, but it's still illegal for any of us here. You guys are business folks. Most people believe in free market principles. I can't run my own casino. I can't run my own state lottery. I can't run my own online gambling operation. Okay? These guys get regional monopolies to run this business. That's part of the con. Okay? And the last piece I want to say, because some people say, well, Les, I'm with you on this, but isn't it a revenue source for the state? Isn't it keeping taxes down? Massachusetts uses the money in the form of local aid. I think New Hampshire uses it to help subsidize education, if I remember correctly, for the lottery and so on. Do you guys think? Does anyone in this room think you're paying less taxes in New Hampshire today, or wherever state you live in, because you have all these extreme forms of commercialized gambling? The answer is definitively no. You're paying higher taxes for less services over the last 30 years in New Hampshire, as well as states across this country, because of commercialized gambling. The advertising and marketing of commercialized gambling has become the public voice of American government today. It's what we advertise to the American people more than anything else. 2/3 of the public never touches this stuff. They don't gamble at all, and you're paying even if you don't play.